What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You have to excuse me, it's extremely hot here in Northern Virginia, so that's why I got my tank top on. But yeah, there's only 8 days left until Lammy Jammy, so we need to hurry up and get this thing done. So today we're going to focus on actually getting the exhaust manifold on, fitting the shrouds, and then actually getting the motor bolted into the frame. And after that, we can actually continue on, with the wiring and the cables and whatnot. So, you guys ready? Let's get to it. All right, as I said, first thing we're gonna do is get the exhaust manifold on. In the previous video, you saw I had to trim some material off the fins in order for the manifold to actually sit flush. So the first thing we're gonna do is install this copper gasket. Like that. Okay, after that, we can actually put the manifold on. So the manifold looks like this, and apparently if you leave the springs here on the sides like this, you have to cut the fan shroud in order for it to fit. So I was watching the Steel Weasel video, and he suggested I hook them here instead, and that way it actually grabs onto the exhaust better. So since we're only using 2 bolts to mount this thing, that's what I'm gonna do. So let's fit this thing up there real quick. I have new wave washers. I'm reusing the brass washers that held the factory manifold on. So we'll get this thing bolted up. Okay, so I installed a new intake manifold and also a new exhaust manifold. Now, we had to modify the cylinder shroud to actually fit over the two. So I've actually cut the material here and cut the material down here off of it. So now we can fit it, and it clears both that and that. Okay, so I have the cylinder shroud bolted back on. Everything fits perfectly, clears the manifolds. And so, I was up late last night actually researching how tight the chain should be. And people were saying there should be about 6 millimeters of play after the tensioner. So, I have the kickstart cover open again, obviously. And so, in the book it says that the bottom should overlap the top. The bottom guide should overlap the top. So, but when I do this, I can't lower the top anymore to actually make it looser. So what I had to do is remove the stud, take this guy out, and reposition it so that this is on the outside. So now I can actually adjust the tension better. So yeah, guys, if you're gonna use these tensioners, make sure you put the top one in front of the lower one. Okay, we got these parts installed in the correct order now. The guide first and then the tensioner after. And now I have more adjustment. So I did leave 6 millimeters of play in the front of the tensioner, which is what it should be. I'm also putting on a new BGM kickstart cover gasket. The other one was worn out and also modified, so I'm just going to put a new gasket on. So this gasket is good. I've used it before, and it didn't have any leaks or anything, so yeah, we'll go with this one. So now just get the cover put back on, and this part should be done. Okay, now let's move on to bolting the engine back into the frame permanently. So before I do that, I'm going to grease up the engine bolt a little bit. Just helps with sliding it in easier. So I have it supported by the mid jack, so let me try to line this hole up, and then we'll try to get this guy through. There you go, that's one. Actually, perfect. Went straight through the other side. Now let's torque it down. Okay, now I got the engine bolt in there. I'm gonna torque this thing down. It's supposed to be 50 foot-pounds. Alright, now I've got the new rear shock installed. These nuts are supposed to also be 50 foot-pounds. So I'm tightening with the impact first. And now I'll torque them down properly. Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, so now I have everything prepped for the exhaust. I got the exhaust manifold mounted, the shroud cut around the manifold, and also cut around to clear this pipe. I'll go ahead and throw the exhaust on. Whew, that was tough. See, I've got the exhaust fully installed with the silencer and everything. So I'd say it's pretty good. Everything fits perfectly. It just took me a little while to get everything lined up and bolted down. So, all right, let's move on to something else. Okay, so next up, I'm going to be sealing the wiring from any moisture or whatever that get in this hole. So the original plate that for you to do so goes something like this. The wire goes straight down the middle, and you bolt this thing down, and it kind of keeps it watertight. So this is the original one with a small hole. Since I have a new BGM harness, this is a thicker harness. So Scootopia actually makes one with a bigger hole, like this. Okay, bigger hole there. That's comparison. Okay, down here, that took me a little while. So then you put the little gasket there. And one of the plates, you put this plate, you have the little cone side facing downward on this plate, and the other one faces upward. So that's that. Gotta get that rubber grommet through this thing. There you go. Okay, that's pretty much it. I'll screw it all down. Okay, so this part is done. Now we can actually wire this thing up. Okay, so I have the stator installed on the other side. Here are the wires for it. You got your typical red, green, white for the CDI unit, and the yellow is actually power. So the yellow is going to wire into this guy, voltage regulator, and then the Italian colors actually wire into the CDI right here. So the CDI comes like this without any wires onto it. This is where the spark plug wire goes. So you gotta get yourself a spark plug wire, and to install that you have to just turn this in like a screw. There is an actual screw in there that actually threads into this wire, and that's how it makes contact with the center pin. So okay, this should be good. On this end, you got to install the spark plug boot. It also does not come with this. This is an NGK one, so make sure you grab one of these if you get this kit. It's would be nice for the dealers to actually tell you that you need this stuff, or maybe even sell it in a kit, you know, so that way you're not making 47 orders for something so dumb that should be included. So get this on first. Same thing here. There's actually a screw in there, you can see. So that screws into the wiring. Okay, so actually let me pull that back a little bit. Okay. Okay, like I said, screw it into the wiring. So that screw actually bites into that center pin, or the center conductor of the spark plug wire. You don't have to kill it. Just, as long as it's in there and it won't come off, you should be good to go. After that, push the little protector back on. that's it. Okay, now it's ready to be mounted. So on this bike, again, we don't have the through holes through the frame here, and that'll allow you to mount that little plate, which this usually mounts onto. But I'm gonna do the same thing I did with the raffle bike. I'm gonna build myself a bracket or something and put it right here. It actually was a really good place when we did it that way. But for now, I'm going to just clip this guy on the bike, and I need to set the timing, and then after that I can put the fan shrouds on. So I'm gonna temporarily terminate these wires just so I can check for timing or set the timing. So the kit comes with these giant quick connectors, and for this wire it's the right size, but for these little wires they are not. So when you go to crimp them, it's really hard to actually crimp them tight. So since I'm a wiring guy, I have the ones that are for the smaller wires. You can easily get them on Amazon overnight, but it's these little brass ones made for 18 gauge wire. Actually, a variety of thicknesses, but 18 gauge will work. So you push it in and then you crimp down. Okay, so pretty much crimps the wire and then crimps the jacket. Okay, so it holds it pretty steady. And once that's done, you put the sleeve over, and that's done for the connection. Okay, so like I said, you plug in the Italian colors: green for green, red for red, and white. Again, the yellow one is power, so you don't need that right now. Right now, all we're doing is checking spark. And then go on the other side and pop the flywheel on, and then we'll see if we get spark. Okay, so right now I have everything temporarily hooked up. CDI, I have it grounded to the chassis. I have my spark plug plugged into the spark plug wire. So now to check for a spark, all you need to do is ground the chassis to the spark plug and then kick the motor over. Alexa, turn the garage off.
Okay.
So kick the motor. Okay, looks like we have spark. Good to go. Okay, so once again, I'll be using my buzz wangle tool to actually check the timing. So I have my piston stop in the spark plug hole already. So first thing we're gonna do is turn this flywheel all the way counterclockwise till it stops. Okay. Now we'll attach this little tool to the flywheel. This gives me a base for the buzz wangle. Okay, like that. Okay, so now that is kind of level. You want to clear it, okay, and go all the way forward clockwise. So 59.4. Okay, you can take that number and divide it by 2. Now I'm going to pull the piston stop off, and we'll rotate it half of that number. Okay, I've got the piston stop removed. 59.4 divided by 20. By 2 is 29.7. So you're going to keep going clockwise until it reaches 29.7. 29.7 is right there. Okay, instead of using a marker, I'm going to punch it. Okay, so as you can see, there's a 0 on the flywheel, and that mark I just made would be top dead center. Now we need to set this thing. Usually on a SX series bike, you're supposed to set it 23 degrees before top dead center. But this is back then when the fuels weren't as good as the fuels that we have now. So they say that you should set it to 19 degrees before top dead center. So I'm gonna put it back to top dead center. I'm gonna clear the buzz wangle to 0, and I'm gonna go back counterclockwise 19 degrees right there. Okay, I'm gonna put a mark right here. This is what we're setting the timing to. Okay, so Actually, this is pretty nice because it gives you the 20 degrees right there. So it tells you, you know, if you put the 19 degree mark onto the little dot right there, it's sort of like setting it to 19 degrees with the 0 mark. So it's pretty nice. All right, so now I'm gonna get my strobe, and I'm gonna flash it while I spin the motor with the drill. Okay, so on this side, you gotta have the spark plug out of the hole to spin the motor freely. So you gotta ground the spark plug. I'll ground it with a clamp. And then over here, you attach the lead to actual spark plug wire. And there's a little arrow that points towards the spark plug right there. Okay, now we can go to the other side and spin the motor. So you saw 0 marks right here. It needs to move over a little bit. So I gotta turn the stator this way, just a tad. So let me get the flywheel off, turn the stator, and we'll check it again. Okay, so I can't rotate it any further over because this little nub is hitting that stud right there. So I need to grind this down a little bit. Okay, so that fits. All right, I think it's maxed out, but let me trim a little bit more. Okay. I trimmed a little material off the stator so I can actually rotate it a little more counterclockwise because it wasn't quite at 19 degrees before top dead center. So I went ahead and did that. Now let's spin the motor again. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so if you saw the mark on the 19 when it was flashing, that means it's set up perfectly. All right, so we can move on. We're now going to torque the flywheel nut down to 50 foot-pounds. It's going to be counterclockwise to tighten, okay? So I got my flywheel holding tool right here. The other end is actually touching the bench, but okay, 50 foot-pounds. Whew, that was tough. Bracket made up for the CDI. I'm gonna mount that there and mount the voltage regulator right here. I'll clean up the wires later. So I plugged it back in, and as you saw, the last step I did was torque the flywheel down. So I mounted this, plugged everything back in, and went to test the spark again, and I have no spark now. So I was looking at the little book that actually came with the stator. So I'm guessing this is an SX platform, and it says that once you have the stator fitted and there's no spark, that means the pickup needs to be spaced out by about 1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeters. So the kit actually comes with 3 little shims like this. 2 of them would be 1 millimeter, 3 of them would be 1.5 millimeters. So I'm guessing that's exactly what I need to do, because once I tightened it down properly, now I have no spark. So I'm gonna pop the flywheel off real quick, and then I will install 2 of these spacers, and then we'll try again. Hopefully we get spark back. In here is a magnet on the flywheel. Okay, you look over here, there's a pickup. Now they're saying that since I tightened the flywheel, it moved it over too much, and now the pickup is not catching the magnet. So what we need to do is remove the pickup, like so. I'm gonna use 2 shims at first, just to see if this will fix it. So these will go on like this, in between pickup. Okay, tighten this guy back on. All right, now we'll bolt the flywheel back down, torque it down, and then see if we get spark again. All right, so I just spent the last hour trying to figure out why there's no spark. Took out all the shims, and I got a really weak spark. And yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. Either something wrong with this stator or something wrong with the CDI here. So I actually have a new CDI on order. I ordered one just in case, because yesterday when I was actually strobing this thing, I noticed that the strobe wasn't working as consistent as it usually does. So I knew something was going on there. So yeah, hopefully when this comes in, that'll solve my problems. If not, it's something up with the stator or the flywheel. And I do have a vape kit that I was gonna save for my TV setup, but I want this bike at Lammy Jammy. So if I have to, I can use the vape kit and just scrap this thing for later. But anyways, I got a ton of other work to do, so I'll go ahead and do that. Let's move on to changing the cables and whatnot, and just get everything ready so that I can actually fire this up once the ignition parts come in. Okay, so here I have a brand new cable set from Scootopia, Scooter's originally. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove all the old cables and replace them with these. Alright, so I've got all new cables ran already. I have them zip tied into place, just I know that they're in the right position before I actually apply the metal zip ties that are supposed to hold these things together. So yeah, that was actually really difficult, to be honest with you. But next thing we're going to do is actually convert the choke lever to work with the aftermarket Deloader carb. Okay, so the choke cable is on the right side of a Lambretta, and I went ahead and installed a new one. This is by BGM actually, and the carb I'm putting on it is a Deloader PHBL25. So it's got a manual choke on it right now. So you pull up on this, but yeah, that's not the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to actually make this thing work with it, so I don't need to take the side cowl off to turn the choke on. So to convert this to cable choke, you need the Deloader cable choke conversion kit. So once you get the manual choke off, hopefully that thing just goes on without too much trouble. Because I remember doing this with I think a PWK choke, and I had to actually sit there and solder a nipple on the end of the cable to actually make it work. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully. All right, so I kind of figured out how much length I need to actually make this cable choke work. I think I have to cut off maybe about a 1/4 inch of the actual cable jacket, and then I'll put another protector back onto it. So yeah, something that I gotta do in order to make that choke lever work. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I've shortened the cable, the outer jacket, the cable, and actually put a new the end protector on it. They actually sell this tool, and they sell the ends, so you can get some from, I think, Amazon, or actually no, I got these from SIP. So just measure out the cable and you get the replacement covers. So now that it's all terminated, I'm going to reinstall it into the actual choke adapter. Okay, so here's the modified choke lever, okay, or choke cable, and it actually works with the factory lever, okay. Now, the way to determine how much to cut off as far as the jacket, I used the original manual choke that came off the carb. So this is with it pulled up, this is with it all the way down. So I'm going to mimic the same thing. So the base of the mounting point right here, see, without me doing anything, choke is actually off right now. It's about the same length, okay. Now I'm going to turn the choke on, and I'll also turn the choke on with the lever here. still they're about the same length. So that's exactly what you want. Okay, so this is actually all assembled and hooked up to the bike. So you look in the carb mouth, there's a hole. You'll see that plunger, okay? So right now the plunger is down and the hole is closed. So when you flip it and you see the plunger go up and the hole is open, that means the lever is adjusted perfectly. And of course, I was able to use the adjuster here as well. So if it's too little or too much, you can adjust it. So yeah, that's how you convert the Lambretta lever to work with an aftermarket carb. Alright, so on the other side, we need to figure out the throttle cable. Now I do have a 45-degree adapter for the top of the carb, so the cable can sort of come out this way rather than this doing a hard 90 straight down on the top of the carb. So that won't work out. Crazy Monkey Development also makes a nice carb top that actually puts the input on the wire on the side. So if you need something like that because your setup is really tight, you should look into that. But I think this one will work okay, 45 degrees. So the first thing we do is take the plunger off the top of the carb, and we'll see exactly how much length we need. Hopefully I don't need to change the internals. Dang it. Yeah, be careful. It is spring loaded. Okay, now I've gathered up all of the parts that flew out. So you got your spring, you got your rubber gasket, and then you have the plunger right here. So the first thing we're going to do is take this straight adapter off the top of the carb, and then we'll put on the angled adapter, which is in this packaging, and see what we get. So it comes with 3 pieces: the rubber boot, the little cable adjuster, like that. So usually put the rubber boot on first, around the cable. Next, you screw this little 45-degree adapter to the top of the carb. It should be good. We'll see if we have enough length to actually make this thing work. If not, you would have to cut the end off of this guy and actually remove it, and then you would need to get a longer cable and then have a pinch bolt in the headset to terminate it. Alright, so let's see if we get lucky. So let's run this thing through here. Maybe. Nah, that's not gonna work. Alright, well, let me see. I'll leave the spring out of it for now, and I'll take a look and see if it actually goes down enough. If it does, then I don't need to use a different inner, but if it doesn't, then I will. Alright, so like I said, I'm leaving the spring and the little gasket off of it, just so I can see how much this actually goes down into the carb. Yeah, it's not enough. So yes, we have to change the cable. Okay, I'll say we're gonna worry about the cable later, but I'm looking at this 45-degree adapter for the top of the carb, and that is not going to work. So there's different versions of this adapter. This one actually is a 90 degree, which will probably work better, I'd say. Yeah, we can run this one. Or there's an actual 180 degree almost. That'll actually put it like right here. So I think the best one would be 90. So yes, I'm showing you this because these are the issues that I run into when I build these bikes. Yeah, you definitely need to plan ahead if you decide to use different carbs and different manifold setups with these bikes. All right, so those are different options of actually hooking up the throttle cable to the aftermarket carb. Alrighty, so here I have a brand new Saigon Scooter Center front disc brake setup. So this actually comes with the front hub, disc brake, caliper. It's already assembled, so I really just need to bolt this thing on. And it also comes with the controls, master cylinder, and the brake line. So yeah, it should be, like I said, bolt this thing on. I'm going to throw a new tire on it while I'm at it. Alrighty, tire mounted. Now let's put it on the hub. I got the wheel back on the hub. Everything seems to fit okay. I'm going to snug it up. Alright, let's get it back onto the bike. Okay, so from the original hub I had to take this nut off and put it onto there. Now I got to torque it down. I believe it's 35 foot-pounds. Alright, that was a little difficult. Okay, now let's get it back on the bike. Okay, I got the kit all bolted up, torqued down, tire spins freely. Of course, I need to install the line, master cylinder, and get all bled up. But some people were saying the quality of these Vietnamese kits aren't great, but I really don't see any issues with them. So again, these are from Saigon Scooter Center. Pat was running a sale on them. I'm not sure if he's still doing that. So if you want an affordable disc brake kit, yeah, make sure you reach out to him. Alright, for the shock absorbers, I went with these BGM fully adjustable ones. These are the same ones I have on my TV 175, and I really like them. And the price difference between these and the standard ones wasn't much, so I opted to get these. So I'm lucky. This Serveta uses the standard TV SX front shocks, and the usual Servetas, they use the really thick ones. The thick shocks, and only one company makes those, and I think they're really expensive. Like on the raffle bike, they had the big shocks on there, if you noticed in those videos. But I'm lucky, and these standard ones fit, so we'll go ahead and throw these on here. Ooh, that is pretty. Yep. All right. It's pretty much done. I'll throw the other one on and we can move on to something else. All right, so next thing we need to do is actually remove this thing right here. along with the wiring and whatnot. So I need to detach the throttle linkage over here because we were replacing it with this guy, master cylinder for the front disc brake. So again, this comes with the kit. It's just direct replacement. So I'll just take it apart, swap the parts over, and we should be good. Look at that. Beautiful. Yep, that took me a while to get this thing actually installed. I actually removed the switch and actually removed a lot of the wiring that I don't need, like as far as the turn signals, things like that. I did put in 2 new wires for the on-off switch. Return spring I fixed, that wasn't working, so this is good to go. Of course, the master cylinder is mounted. I got the hose ran from here, down here, down here, and then wrapped around to the caliper. So I'm not sure exactly if that's the way to do it, but I'm gonna run with that because I like it. So I'm gonna kind of tie the wires up and whatnot, make sure it still turns all right, and then we can put all the body panels back on. So the last major thing is the wiring. I do have the BGM simplified harness, but I'm going to need a couple more wires in that, and so for that I'm just going to make my own. As you can see, I got a huge wiring rack right there because that's actually what I do for a living. So yeah, besides that, I still have that no spark issue. I do have parts coming in. It should be here within the next day or two. So hopefully just by changing those parts I get spark back. But yeah guys, I say she's coming along pretty good. With some luck we can make Lammy Jammy. So with that being said, that's gonna be it for tonight. If you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll catch you all next time.